to achieve with the new fast tracking?
We want to unclog the country from the red and green tape that's holding it back, getting those consents up and running so that investors can make those decisions and get them built.
So in real terms, just give us a sense as to the kinds of projects that could be approved under the fast tracking legislation. Fish farms, yes?
Yes.
New dams?
Yes.
New roads?
Yes.
Seabed mining?
Possibly, if there's an application, possibly.
Coal mines?
Yes.
In a country as environmentally precious and fragile as New Zealand, what are the potential downsides to fast-tracking those kinds of consents?
Well, I don't accept the binary that you can either have the economy or the environment. I think you can actually do both.
It's a balance, right? That's the argument, and you think this strikes a better balance. But there are still potential downsides, and so I want to know that in a country like New Zealand, what are those potential downsides as you see them?
I mean, I just reject
the downsides that you are weighing up.
Well, I just reject the binary.
Does enabling this fast-tracking legislation incentivise lobbyists?
Well, I'm not necessarily that's correct. I mean, there's lobbying on projects and on laws all the time.
Then why have you had so many emails?
Well, because when we announced that in late January, early February, I announced our intention to introduce a fast track regime. A lot of people are very excited about it because it's very hard to do things in New Zealand.
So it does incentivise lobbying?
Well, people are excited about fast track. There's people out there who want to use the law, sure. So I suppose in that sense that's true. There are people who want to use the law, but you know, lobbying is not illegal and it's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not a bad. Did the last government list the projects that were going ahead with fast tracking for the first reading of the bill publicly?
Yes, they did. It was in the COVID.
Will your government commit to doing the same before it goes to Select Committee?
Well, it's already gone to Select Committee. So what we're going to do is run an independent process through an expert advisory group, and then we will put the projects into the bill later as part of the parliamentary process. It's a complicated piece of legislation, a lot of details to get right across Public Works, Conservation Act, Wildlife Act, RMA. This is a one-stop shop, so it's not just the RMA, it's a whole suite of legislation.
So just to be clear though, the previous government publicly listed the projects for fast tracking when it went to Select Committee.
Yes.
Your government is not doing that. Is that democratic?
Well, I think it's completely legitimate. Actually, what we're doing is going through a transparent process. I mean, how did those 17 projects make its way into the bill last time? No one actually knows. Basically, the government just went around and found some projects.
But the public had some say through the Select Committee process.
Yeah, well,
this time the public's just stumbling around in the dark. We have absolutely no idea what kind of projects are going to be
I'd
approved.
argue we're running a more transparent process in the sense that we're getting an independent group to have a look at it, separate from ministers. They'll provide the advice to ministers. But as I say, we're considering whether or not we should put that project list before the committee so that people can have a say on that. So I'm not ruling that out. I think I hear what you're saying, and there's a legitimate point around that. The issue is that I've got is that the Select Committee will become overwhelmed by the projects rather than the mechanism of the law itself. But we're just working that through, so I'm not ruling it out.
Will projects that were previously rejected by the courts be eligible for fast tracking?
Yes, they will. That will be over to applicants. And there also may be situations where people have current resource consents that are partway through the process that may wish to withdraw and resubmit through the fast track process. That'll be over to the applicants.
Is it appropriate for ministers to use ministerial discretion to essentially overrule judicial decisions?
Well, we're trying to change the system. I make no apologies for it. We are deliberately disrupting the system. The status quo is failing New Zealand. It just is. It costs too much to do things. It takes too much time. It costs too much money. It's holding New Zealand back. We were elected as a government on a mandate to do things, to make it easier to get geothermal up and running. More wind, more housing, more mines, more aquaculture. We make no apologies for it. This is deliberately designed to disrupt the system.
And what if it goes wrong? What if you make the wrong call? What if you give something a consent that would not otherwise have got a consent and it causes who knows what kind of environmental damage?
I think there will be projects that will be granted consent that would not otherwise have got a consent under the status quo. Frankly, I hope that's the case, because that's why we're doing it.
And my question is, what if it goes wrong? What if you, as Minister, exercising discretion, make the wrong call and it ends up causing massive environmental damage?
Ultimately, the public will be able to judge the performance of the government in late 2026. That's how our democracy works. We're putting our cards on the table. We think the status quo is wrong, we're changing it. We're making it easy to do things. If people don't agree with that, well, they can throw us out in 3 years' time.
Why isn't the